But I think there's something about having nothing to lose that can help you take the biggest risk. Like if I failed, then I failed. Like I still don't have money. I still don't have a house. I still don't have all of these things that I wanted. I still have 2 kids. Like nothing for me changes all that much, a little, because I don't have like the steady income, but I could get another job. So it just felt like, all right, I'm going to try it. So I told my boss about it and said, okay, I'm gonna just go and start my own company. And he's like, no, we'll give you the raise. I was like, oh no, it wasn't like a game of chicken. Like I asked for it. You didn't think I was worth it. So now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna figure out what my worth is. So I had my first day of the company. We put up the website, and like along with the website came a cease and desist letter from his lawyers. And I was like, oh my God, like I had given him all of this information, just started suing me as soon as I was open. So like in our business, you have to have a creative reel, because even if, let's say you're the producer and you believe in me, you still have writers, art directors, creative directors, executive producers. Like everybody has to say, okay, Barking Owl is the right choice. So I called him and said, I know you don't agree with this, but this is the position that I'm in. And I don't have anything, but I know that I could do any job. I already know, like I would destroy any other company. I know I'll work harder than anybody else. And so he said, okay, all right, listen, I have something for you, but you have to be patient. And I said, okay, I can be patient. We try to do as much as we can hiring from the inside and promoting from the inside. When we're opening New York, we can't really do that because we need like some people that have been doing it for a while. So that's like, you really have to curate the right people and put together people that understand what it is that you're doing. But, client service, if you do that for 2 years and you're successful, you can move into production. So like kind of the punches you take in the beginning are a little bit more fun because you're like the underdog and stuff like that. But now that we're at the top of our game, now it's all those companies trying to get at us all the time. So it's like, they'll underbid you and they'll kind of like, try to eke you out of it. And so it's a different challenge, but it's not like after 11 years, it's easy. It's just the challenges evolve over time.
This episode is brought to you by Venture Mastery, a platform bringing you the best talent from the entrepreneurial world. The platform which connects successful entrepreneurs to other business owners aiming to achieve success. If you've ever wanted to get more leads, more customers, and more revenue, if you ever wondered what successful business owners do differently, what strategies do they follow, how do they apply and execute? If you ever wondered how other entrepreneurs manage to scale their businesses, then you're in the right place. Our mission is to become one of the best educational resources for entrepreneurs who have tried and failed continuously. Anyone can build a business, but only 1% can master it, grow, scale, and prosper. We help you get into that 1% with proven methods used by 7-figure entrepreneurs from all around the world. We will cover all aspects of running a business successfully from a practical standpoint, covering everything you need to know about money and finance, leadership, sales, marketing, wealth management, mindset, and how to get you motivated day by day. So if you'd like to find out more about our programs, keep up to date with our upcoming online courses and one-to-one interviews, please follow us on either Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or other social media platforms of your choice at Venture Mastery, or check us out online at www.venturemastery.co.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining in, for tuning in. I'm your host today, Phil Amery, founder and CEO of Venture Mastery. And today we have a special guest, Kelly Bayett. Bayett or Bayett? How do you
Bayett.
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 Kelly Bayett. Bayett. Founder and creative director of Barking Owl company.
Yes.
Kelly, welcome to our show, and thanks for accepting my invitation. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking me.
I was thinking about the topic we should discuss today because there will be so many we could discuss based on what I read about you, what I watched about you in other media platforms. But what I found interesting that especially that you are a woman who managed to build up something huge and something really great. I checked your website several times and I really love what you did, what you produced. And you started off in a moment when most people, especially young ones, as probably women, especially them, um, find it extremely difficult to make that step which requires to become successful, especially as an entrepreneur. And at that time, as I understand, you were mother of two, and in the process of a divorce, you asked for a raise from your former employer. You didn't get that, and at that time you decided that you are taking your future into your own hands or something like that.
You say it
And
in a very
this
poetic way.
was more than 10 years ago, as I understand. So
It
this is
was.
what I would find interesting for our audience, the story, your past, which would probably motivate other young enthusiasts to build their own entrepreneur or become an entrepreneur or build their own business, or they have their own dreams and make that dream come true or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I was getting divorced, and um I had a boyfriend and I had two kids, and um I went to my boss. It had been years since I had gotten a raise. I mean, years.
I mean,
And
you mean 10 or 15 or 30
no,
years?
no, like 3. I'd been there for 7 years. But
Yeah,
so I went to and like, our numbers were going up every year. So it wasn't like we were struggling as a company. We were fine as a company. We were doing great. And I was leading the company and kind of doing everything, like executive producing, creative directing, and all of that. So it was definitely something that was deserved. Like when I went on my maternity leave for my second child,
yeah,
um, I was gone for 6 months and their revenues dropped insane. I mean, it's the
wow,
difference of like 600,000 to 140,000. So I felt like I had proven my worth. And they said no. And I can back up for a second because my boyfriend at the time had said, you should just be doing this for yourself. Like, you have the kids and everything, but like you're doing everything on your own anyway.
yeah,
So why don't you just do it for yourself? And I was like,
yeah,
well, because I have no savings. Like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't
yeah,
have anything. And I have like a couple of credit cards. I have no family to fall back on. Like, there's literally, like, if it doesn't work, I'm homeless. Like, it's not even a joke. This is it. And he was like, I think you should do it. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ask my boss for a raise. And if he gives me the raise, I'm staying. And if he doesn't give it to me, I'll go. And he was like, okay. So when I asked my boss for the raise and he said no, I was like, please, like, you don't know what this means for me. Like, even if it's $4,000 over
yeah,
like a year, I will take it. Like, just anything. And he was like, no, sorry, we just don't want to do that. And I said, okay. So then I knew that I was committed to this other thing, that we were going to start a company. And my boyfriend was really good at kind of the business affairs side, like contracts, insurances, all the stuff that like I as a creative don't really want to deal with. And it's not that I can't do it. It's just that I didn't really want to do it.
yeah,
So he was a great partner for me automatically. And he was right there. So of course, like, the whole thing's risky, right? I have no savings. I have 2 children, and I'm going into it with someone I'm dating. like
Yeah.
in the middle of a divorce. Like everything about that is like a red flag, right? But I think there's something about having nothing to lose that can help you take the biggest risk. Like if I failed, then I failed. Like I still don't have money. I still don't have a house. I still don't have all of these things that I wanted. I still have 2 kids. Like nothing for me changes all that much, you know, a little, because I don't have like the steady income, but I could get another job. So it just felt like, all right, I'm going to try it. So I told my boss about it and said, okay, I'm going to just go and start my own company. And he's like, no, we'll give you the raise. I was like, oh no, it wasn't like a game of chicken. Like I asked for it. You didn't think I was worth it. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to figure out what my worth is. And he offered me a bonus and all these things to stay. But like I had kind of already made this commitment to do the company. And so, and I think that there's something about someone giving it to you when you're going to go that makes it less rewarding. Where if you ask for a raise and someone says, I see you and I see your worth, and yes, of course, you're worth that, rather than like, well, then I'm going to go. Okay, fine. I'm going to give it to you. Like that to me is like, I don't know. I just wanted to be valued. And that was just in general, a company where you weren't valued anyway. So I told him and he goes, okay, you know what? It's going to be fine. Stay for 30 days. But what I need you to do is be transparent with me because I can help you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's true. Like you could help me. And he owned also like another bigger production company and half of Santa Monica, California. And like he was insanely wealthy, like insanely wealthy.
Yeah.
So I was like, he could help. So I told him our big plans of having a website and running it out of our house and what spots I would put on the reel. I was really careful about that I didn't want to use artists that were committed to the other company I was working for. I really wanted it to be like a holistic view of what I could do with the resources that I really had. And he was like, no, that's great. That's great. So I had my first day of the company. We put up the website and like along with the website came a cease and desist letter from his lawyers. And I was like, oh my God, like I had given him all of this information to start suing me as soon as I was open. So like in our business, you have to have a creative reel because even if let's say you're the producer and you believe in me, you still have writers, art directors, creative directors, executive producers, like everybody has to say, okay, Barking Owl is the right choice.
Yeah.
So the first cease and desist letter was for the reel. So it was like, you can take the reel off and you can't use any work at all, or you can fight me. Well, obviously I can't fight because I don't have the money to fight. So I called the lawyer because I knew the lawyer. I'd worked for this guy for 7 years. And I was like, Richard, what is this? He's like, sorry, it's what he wants to do. Sorry, I can't help you out. Why don't you just take the site down? If you can't fight it, just take the reel off. And I was like, but then I can't work. Like I have 2 kids. I have nothing. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. And I was like, oh God. Okay. So I took the reel down and I thought I'm going to write it all into the bio. Like, so the bio of the company was like this long, but it talked about like all the work we had done and all the things. And then like day 3, cease and desist letter for the bio. And I was like, oh my God. Like, so then I called the lawyer again. He's like, well, if you don't want to go to court, then you got to take the bio down. And I was like, but there's no like legal reason why I can't have a story up of what I've done in my life. And he's like, doesn't really matter. We can sue you for whatever we want and we can drag it on for as long as we want. So if you have the money to fight it, fight it. If you don't, I'd say take it down. It's probably a lot easier. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
So now I have nothing and nothing on top of nothing. So my phone rings and it's this guy and he says, oh, where were you? I called the other company and you weren't there. And I said, oh, well, I just started my company in my house yesterday. And in my business, like the facilities are so beautiful. There's like beautiful kitchens and like tons of client service and restaurants built within. And I'm like, I'm home, but I have a room in my house and I could do it for you. And he was like, great. So it was like a job for Chevy with Howie Long. And it was like 3 spots and it was enough to keep us going for like 2 months.
And this was your very first client, as I
So
understand?
two things happened at the same time. So Chevy was kind of the first client, but it wasn't technically work you would put on the reel. You have to be very careful because whatever you put out there to represent yourself is how people view you kind of forever. So I was like, I have this job, but I kind of still don't have a reel, even though I really appreciate the job. And even though it's going to keep us going, and even though it's so fun and like I've made the best contacts, I couldn't put it on anything to show people. So I called my friend, his name's Matt Honeycutt. He's still a really good friend of mine. And he had said, don't do the business. It's terrible timing. Like he had like said, this is the worst thing you could ever do. I was like, I know, but like, I'm already doing it. So I called him and said, I know you don't agree with this, but this is the position that I'm in. And I don't have anything, but I know that I could do any job. I already know, like I would destroy any other company. I know I'll work harder than anybody else. And so he said, okay, all right, listen, I have something for you, but you have to be patient. And I said, okay, I can be patient. So his job actually gave us the first check. So technically his job was the first job, but it was a Coca-Cola Super Bowl spot for Wyden and Kennedy. So it was just like one really incredible special piece. So if I only had one thing to show, like what a great thing, because Wyden and Kennedy's a leader in our industry. And so people feel like, oh, well, if they'll work with them, then we can work with them. Like, obviously there's something good about them that Wyden and Kennedy believes. And so it's kind of like, I feel like you need that, like you first need to believe in you and you can't be like arrogant about it. You just have to be confident. And then you have to know that there are people who also will believe in you, and you have to like call people and ask for those favors. And within 6 months, we were able to get a little studio space with like 2 little studios. It was pre-built, so we just had to make it look pretty because it was like hideous looking.
You rented it? You rented it? Or
Leased it. Yeah, it was like the second floor in a building. So we had the 2 studios, very minimal equipment, like no shades on the windows, no refrigerator with drinks, like bare bones, like a couch and some furniture.
Yeah.
And, we would just own that. And we would have clients in and we would run to the gas station down the street to get a drink if they wanted a drink, or like there was a fruit cart down the street. So we'd always get fruit and it would feel fancy. But if they wanted to get their own drink, they couldn't because there was no refrigerator. But what we did was after the job was done, we would buy something for the space. So for example, we would buy a refrigerator and we would fill it with drinks. And then we would send them like a little picture and a thank you note. And it was like, next time you come, we'll have cold drinks. Thank you for helping us like build this. So what that did was that this wasn't my intention. It's just kind of what happened. Was that people felt a loyalty. They felt like they built you. They felt some kind of ownership in your success. Like, oh, Brian, oh, we got their refrigerator. Oh, we got their shades. Oh, we did this for that. Oh, we did that. And then it just kind of felt like everybody was a part of it. And it really like planted the seeds for the culture of the company, which is that it's a family and that everyone is very close. Clients, people. I mean, we have it set up now where, not for coronavirus because everybody's working at home, but once we all come back in a few months, we have a chef and we have like a kitchen area. So when you walk in, people actually feel like they're walking into a house. They're like, am I in the right place? Like, what is this? And we even have it the same in New York too. So it's like you just walk in and you feel like you're home. And people always say like they feel so calm when they walk in, or they can take a breath. Like there's something really comforting about it. And so that was kind of the whole idea for us, was to not just build like a really high level creative company, but to keep it like not pretentious. A lot of music companies are like so pretentious and everybody's so cool, but like eventually somebody's going to be cooler than you. Right. So if you're the like warmest and the coziest and the most family, that's a hard thing to kind of one up,
It's completely the opposite. What is common, mostly corporate companies, that people, they are going starting from 9 and they are looking on their watches when when it's 5 p.m. to go home. And then
Yeah.
it's Friday to, okay, gosh, I don't have to work this weekend. So it's like a family. And what I learned from your story that you are, if someone new is coming to your company as a new team member, he your strategy as a leader, I suppose, because this is a good leadership strategy from you, that they are you are allowing them to start from the bottom, let's suppose, and and step by step to climb the ladder of their career to higher positions, so that in few months or few years, most of your employers uh, can do whatever job is required or something like that, as I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to do as much as we can hiring from the inside and promoting from the inside. When we're opening New York, we can't really do that because we need like some people that have been doing it for a while. So that's like, you really have to curate the right people and put together people that understand what it is that you're doing. But, client service, if you do that for 2 years and you're successful, you can move into production and you know the clients and you kind of know the way that things go because you're around it. You know what the expectation is from the company, you understand the culture of the company, and your producers are really front facing people with clients, so they have to really understand everything about who you are and what your mission is and all of that.
Yeah.
So it works out really well. And because the clients are so used to seeing them and like sitting at the kitchen table and having breakfast with them and just like hanging out, they're so excited to see them get promoted. So there's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that like,
Yeah.
who are you? What are you doing here? Like, maybe this isn't your position. Maybe you're not ready for this. It's like, oh God, Hannah's so great. We're so excited to see her take this next step, is the attitude that we would experience from our clients as people were moving up.
And how do you approach when you are hiring someone new, so that you can make sure that he or she, but mostly she, because as I understand, uh, at least 70% of your employees are women, um, in an industry which is dominated by male, as I understand. So, and someone to make sure that the new member can really reach to a higher level in terms of your or her career at your company.
So I think a lot of things are intuitive. For me, I think that you can kind of meet someone and get their vibe and like kind of feel them out right away. Um, Talk to them about stuff. How well do they know the company? How well do they know the work before they come in? Do they know what they're talking about? Or is this just like another like job interview? Who cares? Like, I just need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
work, right? You want people who feel very passionate about what it is that you're doing and understand how we do it too. That it's not about kind of the quick, easy answer, that it's about having the vision for the long term all the time. It's like we always say, like, don't step over a dollar to grab a dime. Like, there might be a mixer who has more of a client base and can bring a lot of money initially, but maybe he's like an egomaniac and like super annoying. Well, how does that
yeah,
affect the whole group? Like, it really affects the whole group. So it's worth bringing someone up from that position and like having them grow into the space, because you can't really change the ego and you can't really like change someone being a jerk all the
yeah,
time. But you
yeah,
can teach them how to run Pro Tools, but you can't teach a good ear either. That's the other thing. So when you're interviewing people, I think that you always look for kind of like a warmth, and sometimes people will misrepresent themselves. That's happened to us too.
mm,
um and they don't last very long. you know they just don't
yeah,
fit, and because everybody is of the same mind and everybody's very collaborative and everybody works together and that there is no ego, someone like that, it just doesn't fit, it doesn't work, and it becomes like everybody's like, this person has got to go, or they can't live up to the expectation. Like we are Mormon family, but everybody works so hard, to like for this like greater good of the project, that if you don't have that in you, you also won't last, no matter how nice you are. So it's really finding people, you can look at someone's resume. Have they been at a million places? Why? Why have they been in a million places? Have they not found their place, or are they difficult? Like you can kind of, I don't know, like for me, it's all just like vibe. Like you just can kind of get someone's vibe right away and know who they are.
I remember a few years ago, I had a client who managed to build quite a good company, a big company, but after a while, they went bankrupt. They built their team like if you have a friend or someone, we have an empty spot or a vacancy. And I don't know if you experienced this at your company, and what actually you experience with this kind of approach, not meaning not trying to find the best match for a certain position. You rather rely on your team members and who knows who, and something like that.
Well, I think that it's both, because if you trust your team members, then, and they're very passionate about what they're doing and they take what they're doing very seriously, then they will refer who they think are the best people for it. And, you have this like non-competitive mentality at our company, but it does exist at other companies, where you'll refer someone who is not better than you and who will not like excel faster than you, right? But we don't have that. I mean, people really are like, this is someone I would trust to take over my session. This is someone that I would trust to watch my clients. There's a lot of, we empower people a lot, and people really take a lot of ownership over their projects. Everyone is valued as an artist. And so what that does is it creates so much pride in work that they would never refer someone to us that they don't think couldn't handle one of their sessions should they have to hand it over, because it's an embarrassment to them, really. And we make that clear, like, hey, is this someone that you really like? Because like this is reflecting directly on you. What is your experience? And then they'll say, oh, well, I worked with them at this place. I mean, a lot of our people are friends of other people because there's a trust,
And how about trainings, or do you have something like internal trainings, or sending your new members to some sort of courses, or you are simply relying on your other team members who are been working there for many years, and learn by doing it, as you see from those who are also already experienced?
So I am a learn by doing kind of person. When I started in this business, I had no experience, and also no one was helping me. So I had to learn by doing. I didn't go to college, so I didn't have a network or anything to lean on. And so it's like, I do feel like you have to learn by doing. And then we have the people who are like, we have a lead mixer in our company, and he's really good at training assistants. So everybody who starts goes with him because he's really good at getting them to understand like the technical process and the posting specs and all of that. I couldn't teach that. I don't even know it. It's not something that I need to like, I don't need to. I have people who are really amazing at that, doing that. So it's like you kind of pair people with people who are good at training them, because in what we do, there's not really like an outside source. When it comes to composers, like if there's someone that I think has a lot of promise, I will kind of start coaching them, and I'll have them send me tracks early, and I'll, have them put it to picture, and we'll go over like details in it and why it works and why it doesn't. And then you can see like if they're picking that up and they're really good at taking feedback, then they're going to be great. I mean, there's a guy I invested in for 4 years because I just was like so moved by his piano pieces, but his revisions were like stressing me out. But the initial piece was so beautiful, that I just felt like there's something so special. And once he was kind of like trained, he was magic. He sells all the time now. So it's worth believing in people and training people, but you also cannot waste your time with people who are also not going to get it because you don't have the time to waste.
I was thinking that someone young, for example, in early 20s or 30s, maybe thinking of starting his or her own business. If he or she would be looking on your website, would notice that there are really, really huge brands as your clients, like Google, Apple, Coca-Cola, and Netflix, Procter and Gamble, and so on. And someone who has never done this would be thinking that, okay, but I need some connections or something like that. But in my opinion, and probably you will encourage them as well, all they need is courage to if they don't have a direct connection with someone at a big company, then connect someone else or go that path, regardless how hard it would be. But if if someone else managed to do this, that they can as well,
I
because
do believe
somehow you
that,
reach to the point to work for the biggest brands in the world.
it's true. But I think that you have to be really creative and you have to be willing to outwork anyone. It is the hardest thing to own your own company. It's not easy. I work much harder now than I did before. And during coronavirus, I worked 10 times harder than I did before, which I didn't even think was possible, And so it's like, yeah, do I think anybody can do it? Of course you can. But you have to be super confident. You have to be super humble. You have to be really honest, and you have to be incredibly creative and resourceful. Like beyond what you thought you could even do. You just have to like use every single resource in your power to make something happen. So it's
Kelly,
definitely like entrepreneurship is not for the lazy or people who like
no,
take an easy way out,
it is said that as long as you start to become an entrepreneur, you are getting punches every single day in your face. So,
Yeah.
and you need to bear that. So
You need to bear it. And guess what? Like it changes. So like kind of the punches you take in the beginning are a little bit more fun because you're like the underdog and stuff like that. But now that we're at the top of our game, now it's all those companies trying to get at us all the time. So it's like, they'll underbid you and they'll kind of like, try to eke you out of it. And so it's a different challenge, but it's not like after 11 years, it's easy. It's just the challenges evolve over time.
and we need to take in account that we are human beings with feelings. And I have days when I think like, okay, oh gosh, I'm giving up. I don't want to do that, something like that. But the next day, I'm so humbled again and doing and working and doing the next step, doing the next thing. And it builds up after a while. And this is what I think it's crucial to understand that it's not it's not a tally tale or fairy tale or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely days like we had someone who I was so close with leave the company, and I was like, well, I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it. It's over. My husband was like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's not over. But it was like, it felt like, oh God, what happened? Like, I don't know. I was so sad about it. And I like went to see psychics and I was like I did everything that I could to try to get my head like back in the game. And it was so hard. And then I actually saw one psychic who said he didn't leave because he didn't need you anymore. He left because you don't need him anymore. So now it's time for you to like stand on your own and own your place, and you don't have to share it with anybody anymore. Like you need to own who you are in this industry and like stop putting it on like a man that can take the credit for things, And I kept thinking about that. And then also have you ever seen, well, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but there's this movie called Moonlighting with Cher. And there's this moment where like this person's like all stressed out and she like slaps him across the face. She's like, snap out of it. And like my rep in New York, Diane Patron, who's one of my best friends, was talking to me one day and she's like, okay, look, we've been sad about this for a long time. Like, we're over it. We're fucking done with it. It's time to move on. The company has always been you. You've always been running it. Like, you're doing nothing different now than you did before. It's just that you don't have this crutch that you're leaning on. So you know what? Let's go now. We're done with this. And I was like, oh God, I'm done with this. Like, what am I doing? And it was like that moment. And I think that is like a really important thing to have people in your life who can also say like, hey, you're out of control, or you're like in your own head about it, or like you're doing this wrong. You don't want to surround yourself with like yes people. You want to surround yourself with people who are honest with you, and you have to be able to take criticism as an entrepreneur because you're going to grow. Like, just because you're the top person doesn't mean that like the client service person doesn't have something to teach you, and I think that those times, like when it's so hard and it feels like it's impossible, you can look at the team that you built and be like, oh my God, like I have all of these amazing people around me who are supporting me. And like, we've built this together, and like, they're counting on me and I'm counting on me. And like, my 2 children have turned to 4 children. And like, there's like all this responsibility. Just sometimes it feels like a lot, but then, you kind of have people in your life who can help you kind of come back and come out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've had like 2 moments like that in 11 years where I just felt like done. I did it. I'm done. But
it's never
they're not
done.
often,
It's never done.
Yep.
It's never
done.
done.
Did it. Look at the website. It's great. We did a great job. Let's go now. But then I can't live like that. Like I would be like super type A at my kids' school, just like really over dominating the parent meetings. Like I can't, I need this. I'm someone that needs this kind of business.
But the main message is it's never done. It's like if we put men on the Mars, then it's not done because
now you're someone on Mars.
Yes, but we are on Mars, but robotically, not as on the moon,
Yeah, I think there's this feeling from a lot of like entrepreneurs that I have met with who are younger, and you see people like have something and cash out kind of young, or early, and I think that people
that's
are
very
counting
dangerous.
on that.
That's very dangerous for those who are watching these young people, because they think that quick win is the solution.
Yeah, and those opportunities are very few and far between. So if you're going into it thinking you're going to cash out in 5 years, and maybe you're making reckless choices, or you're kind of like planning for 5 years, it doesn't really work like that. And it never gets easy. So it's kind of like when you take on a business, and then you start, especially when you start taking on employees who are relying on you, for their health insurance, for their families, for everything. It's a big responsibility. And I think you have to go into it knowing that people are not disposable. So you have to go in committing to them as much as they are committing to your company.
Yeah, exactly.
For the long haul, not like, hey, we're in, we're out. I mean, if you can do it, good for you. But I think there's like, it's so rare.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly, thank you very much. I think it was really useful and motivational, hopefully. Any other message you would tell to our audience? Anything that would encourage a young enthusiast, someone thinking that I should stop thinking, do the next step tomorrow or something like that.
I mean, I am always one that's like, just do it, but be informed, I think and there's like something really great about being naive and like not knowing better. And like, that gives you a lot of like chutzpah, right? Like, oh, I don't really like, I took a reel to an agency where like, now that I do it for real, I'm horrified by what I did back then, but it was like pixelated and there were like 2 spots and I called all these people from like their jobs to come watch these 2 spots and spend like 10 minutes with us. I would never do that in the real world. But I think that there was something at the time, we were so excited to like show them what we had. And we were so naive about what that process looks like because we hadn't really done screenings before that it was like endearing to people. So I think if you're coming from an honest place, then people really hear that and they like embrace that, you know?
Yeah.
So Kelly, do it, but like, don't be a jerk to people.
Kelly, thanks once again. And I really hope that we can continue this interview some other time with some more specific topics. And it was a joy from me. So I really hope that we can continue this and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Phil. You too. Thanks for having me.
This episode was brought to you by Venture Mastery, one of the leading educational platforms for entrepreneurs aiming to grow and scale their businesses. Thanks for tuning in with me, your host, Phil Amery. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where we'll get you updated with our upcoming courses, one-to-one interviews, and latest entrepreneurial success stories from around the world. I'd be honored to hear your thoughts and feedback, so please leave your comments and help us in producing even more engaging and valuable content for our next episodes. Thanks for joining us.